Oh, man. I found these box of sunglasses. They show me a different perspective on the world. Here.
Yeah, man.
Bearclaw.
I saw you found those. I saw those next to the portage on it at Station 69 there.
You
know
want to put these
man.
on? You got to check these out, man. You got to check these out.
No, I'm good on the portage on sunglasses. I'm already doing the mask thing. Like, too many accessories, man. You know what I mean?
Bearclaw, I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
So you are afraid of something.
Death is. Be afraid. Be very.
Welcome to the madness.
We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight, back at the Dungeon of Doom. This is our episode 28 on the 1988 John Carpenter's They Live. My name is Kevin, and let me go around and introduce you to the other members of Madness. First, we have Dan. Dan, you're looking a little different than normal with these glasses on.
I don't know what you're talking about, Kevin. I feel great. I am all out of bubblegum, and I am ready to review They Live.
Okay, next, we have the mayor of Halloween Town. It's Bearclaw. Bearclaw, put these glasses on, man. You gotta see what I'm seeing.
Listen, you keep talking about these Porta-John sunglasses like I'm good. Like, I don't want to go again. I've already do the mask thing. Everybody else in the room, I'm kind of reading the room right now. We're in the Dungeon of Doom, back home sweet home. It just doesn't feel like I need indoor sunglasses.
Yeah, who wears sunglasses inside? That's weird.
All right. And last, but not least, we have the youngest member of Madness, my son Logan. Logan, you're looking a little different as well.
Well, it's because I'm in mourning. You see, I made a fatal mistake last time we were on the podcast. You see, I wasn't myself that day. I made a lot of terrible mistakes. I want to apologize to the viewers. I want to apologize to our editor, Nathan. I want to apologize to the other members of Madness. I was not myself, and I said some things that may have been hurtful. You see, John Carpenter is not a bad director. I like a lot of his movies, and I think I made a fatal mistake, so I'm sorry. Nah, I'm just kidding. Screw them.
Oh my God.
John Carpenter is a good director, but I'm not saying sorry to you viewers. Whatever, man.
Wow.
Bunch of babies.
Renegade.
Heel heat.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you hear that, Nathan? I'm not sorry.
Editor's note, your father has given me permission to ground you, Logan.
He apologizes for nothing.
Yeah.
Bearclaw, just put these glasses on. You gotta see what I'm
Dude,
seeing.
you gotta drop the sunglasses. I'm not putting on the sunglasses.
He's in aviators. He likes aviators.
Not my style. Porta potty sunglasses. I'm out.
I'm keeping these on, but they are kind of giving me a headache. There are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is that we're going to be giving you the older versus younger generation perspective. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw were all born in the 1980s, while my son Logan was born in the early 2000s. So this is the clash of the generations. Without any further ado, grab your sunglasses, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness. We watched They Live from 1988. It was written and directed by John Carpenter. It was based on the short story 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson. Now, Carpenter wrote the screenplay under the pseudonym Frank Armitage. I don't know if you recognize it, Bearclaw, but it is an homage to H.P. Lovecraft, Henry Armitage.
It sounded kind of familiar. What story is it?
I have it written as the Dunwich
Horror.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. A lot of Carpenter's work goes back to Lovecraft.
It's funny because also Keith David stars as the character Frank Armitage. Carpenter enjoyed working with him so much on The Thing that he wrote the role of Frank specifically for Keith David.
Keith David's a great actor, man.
Yeah.
He really puts his all in his role, and there wasn't a lot of meat to chew on in this role, but he really did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I think this movie would have not been the same if not for the two of them working together. Because they really made a lot of this movie feel more important.
They Live also stars Roddy Piper as John Nada. A lot of us know him from wrestling fame as Hot Rod Roddy Piper. John Carpenter was also a huge wrestling fan and met Piper at WrestleMania 3. It's funny, though, Piper had never heard of John Carpenter before.
That tracks.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a real movie kind of guy.
No. Originally, Carpenter had asked Kurt Russell to play the role of John Nada, but they decided, both of them actually thought that they had worked on The Thing, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, so
Time for a break.
yeah, they wanted to go their separate ways a little bit. But at the time of filming, Piper was under contract with WWF. At the time was World Wrestling Federation.
Federation.
Yeah.
The other one was the Animal Sanctuary.
The World Wildlife
and then they had to
Foundation
get,
or something. They sued them.
then they had to get the F out.
That is true. Vince McMahon, who was the owner, did not want Piper to take the role. He offered Piper the exact same money to star in a different movie that Vince McMahon was working on himself.
Oh, God. WWE Studios.
Do you guys know what movie that was?
No holds back.
Dude,
What was it?
wrong choice.
No Holds Barred.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Next movie.
What a treat.
Bearclaw. It stars Terry Bollea, otherwise known as the immortal Hulk Hogan.
And Zeus.
Zeus.
Tiny Zeus Lister.
Yeah.
Wow.
As wrestling fans,
I missed that
that
one.
is like the only good wrestling movie. Well, that's not true. Ready to Rumble was also pretty good.
I'll be 100 with you, gentlemen. I didn't know that they made any wrestling movies outside of like the 1920s.
So it's
like,
funny.
Wrestling pictures.
They made movies before it, but there was a famous era of WWE where they wanted to get into the entertainment business. So they made WWE Studios, and they did these like direct to home DVD movies with like the wrestling stars, and these terrible movies, like god awful.
One starred Kane with
Zigglypuff there.
There was one with like
Wasn't John Cena?
See no evil?
See No Evil. That's
There
it.
was a bunch of them though.
Kane makes a girl eat a cell phone.
Oh no.
Well, wasn't there like a bunch of them like Navy SEAL kind of movies that were
That was
like
the Marine.
The Marine.
Yeah, that was with The Miz.
With John Cena in it or something.
Yeah, John Cena might have been in one of them.
Well, unfortunately for Vince McMahon, Roddy Piper turned down Vince, and
Unfortunately for us.
Yeah,
for us, because he brings such like, and I wrote this in an Instagram post, and no offense to Roddy Piper, because let me tell you, his acting in this was fantastic, but he kind of puts off the stale cigarettes and cold coffee kind of smell vibe. I don't know, it's a very like 1980s.
He gives off hobo energy.
Yeah, he gives. He just give off.
He is a hobo in the movie, so that's what he's
a
going
hobo
for.
in every other movie he's done. Like It's Always Sunny, he was a hobo. He's a hobo in the.
Well, he kind of throws off that energy a little bit.
He was poor, like a lot of wrestlers. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got that blue collar vibe.
Yeah, very much so.
Unfortunately, though, for Roddy, too, this kind of threw his wrestling career off the tracks a little bit because he was on the outs with Vince, and it took him years to get back in his good graces.
Oh, man.
Poor Rowdy.
Hopefully he didn't have to get pooped on or anything.
Oh, uh-oh.
Real ones know what that.
Oh, God. They Live had a budget of $3 million. Do you know how much it made at the box office?
I don't think it did terribly well, right? I'm going with a solid $4 million.
Go nice 12 million.
I'll go in the middle. I'll go 8.
Logan's the closest. They Live grossed $13.4 million.
Oh, that's not far
I guess,
off at all.
and thinking about it, I guess that makes sense because John Carpenter was probably gaining steam. This is 1988. He had done a lot of good movies up until this point, so.
Well, it's funny because They Live originally debuted at #1 at the box office, which was pretty cool.
What else was in the box office at that time?
Well, Logan, I'm glad you brought that up because originally it was slated to open in October 1988. But there was another famous horror movie that came out that year in October of 1988. Do you know what it was?
It's got to either be Jason, Freddy, or Chucky?
Well, actually,
Or Michael.
Michael came back this year.
Michael.
It's 4.
Michael.
Yes.
No.
4.
No.
Why now, Michael? Why
No.
now?
Cookie Woman.
Cookie woman. Cookie woman.
Not Cookie Woman.
I know. I hate those 3 movies all because of James.
Boo.
Psycho.
But ironically, the opening was pushed back to Election Day in the United States.
Which I bet John Carpenter loved, because
Yeah,
this was a
at the
whole
time.
reaction against Reagan.
And on that day, George Herbert Walker Bush became the president of the United States, who was Ronald Reagan's vice president.
What a good day. They live in
know.
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan was the end of his second term. John Carpenter has discussed in many interviews that this movie has direct social commentary against Reagan and his economic policies known as Reaganomics.
Mainly inspired by Ronald Reagan's conservative revolution. There was a great deal of obsession with greed and making a lot of money. So I decided to scream out in the middle of the night and make a statement about that. And They Live is partially a political statement. Right now, it's even more true than it was then.
Knowing John Carpenter, that makes 100%. That's just so much like John Carpenter to just do that.
It's a big fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, They Live has an 87% critic score and an 80% audience score. So this is certified fresh.
Holy shit, I wasn't expecting that.
This was my pick for an episode. So the reason why I chose They Live is in the last episode on The Thing, I had talked about John Carpenter was really becoming one of my favorite directors. And I hadn't seen a whole lot of his work. So recently, I started going through some more movies. Big Trouble in Little China, Assault on Precinct 13, and They Live. They Live, I've heard about for years because I am a huge Roddy Piper fan. I was as a little kid, and we'd all seen the iconic scene, of
Oh, yeah. I
the
mean, that's been
Bubblegum.
aped, and when him and Keith David beat the shit out of each other. I mean, that's been aped so many times.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it so many times in pop culture, but I was like, oh, man, like I never got around to watching it. And finally I watched it, and whoa.
Yeah.
I was like,
Plus
why haven't I seen
Plus
this
the
before?
sunglasses. I mean, the sunglasses are pretty. I mean, I think they did a Simpsons episode with the sunglasses. I mean, those are
That tracks.
those are pretty. That's a pretty big theme too that's out there.
Yeah, and I think like for me too, alien movies aren't really my jam. Not really into alien invasion movies, but I think this does alien invasion a little bit differently. It's kind of like an invasion of the body snatchers type of idea, which I really like. And I think that this was a different movie that I'd really seen, and a different John Carpenter movie, because even though it does have some of his, we'll say, specialties,
Yeah.
it does feel different. One of the things I love about this movie is the art. I don't know if you've seen any of the art that's out there for They Live, where it's, you have a lot of the signs, obey and things like that, and the aliens and the colorization. I love that stuff. It looks so cool.
It made a huge comeback during the Obama era with that whole, like, there was kind of a riff on it by the same guy who did like that face that had like obey written under it. He did that the Obama Hope poster, but it was kind of derivative of his previous stuff. And I don't know if anyways, it's like a weird like 1984 like Big Brother kind of face with obey under it.
Yes.
That same artist, I believe, and write me at thepaddedroom@outlook.com if I'm off base on this, but I believe he did like the Obama Hope poster and things like that. And the messaging of this movie has been very resonant with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that goes into why this movie had an effect on me when I saw it, because I think it was a social commentary of that time, but I think it's even more relevant in today's world. So it's like it's almost become a timeless movie in a way.
For sure.
Let's give you all the rest of our overall thoughts on They Live. Dan, start us off.
I love this movie as a social commentary. I think it accurately captures like the superficial, materialistic, power-hungry, social climbing, dog-eat-dog mentality that Reaganomics instilled culturally in our society in the 80s. It does a great job of satirizing the power elite and captures how out of touch they are with normal people. And kind of going back to what you were saying, Kevin, about this being like an Aliens movie, I think Aliens is like the perfect trope to use to describe people like in the upper crusts of society, because they're so far up there and out of touch. It's almost like they're aliens. They don't understand normal people's existence.
I like
they
that
only
analogy.
Yeah.
They only see themselves and how they think, and it's like this top-down understanding of the world.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I think Aliens is so spot on with that. Again, you touched on another thing that I was also thinking about with Roddy Piper. He is such a man's man. He is the working man. He gives off that blue collar vibe. And it's so easy to get behind him already, like, because, you know, he was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. But like, he just has like this aura of him that you just want to like him. He just seems like a good person.
He's like when he first comes into the movie, you really see him as just like as a very sympathetic character.
Yes.
Because he's very much like, you know, hey, you know, I was in Denver, Colorado, all the banks shut down, you know.
Worked there for 10 years. Things just seemed to dry up. They lost 14 banks in 1 week.
He's doing his best to try and live by the rules.
Right. He kind of has like this optimistic point of view on life.
America.
He believes in the American dream.
I deliver a hard day's work for my money. I just want the chance. It'll come. I believe in America.
Whereas Frank is seems a little more cynical.
Yeah.
We gave the steel companies a break when they needed it. Know what they gave themselves? Raises.
And I think the story that Carpenter wrote does a great job of making you feel like no one it can really be trusted, given the fact that there are humans who are like co-conspirators in the alien takeover. It resonates with me now so much in the current time we're in.
I was thinking too,
the era of the internet.
Right. I was thinking too, which that's a really good point, is this movie shows humans kind of letting the alien takeover happen too. Like they're a part of it.
They're selling out.
Right.
If I were to summarize Reaganomics up into a single sentence, it would be the period in which working class people went from being laborers to consumers.
For sure.
As Carpenter referred to us as livestock in the movie, I think when you think of it in those terms of going from a laborer to a consumer, you've given up that autonomy. You have become a consumer. You are therefore livestock.
Very true. Bearclaw, how about you?
I really like this movie. I think it's got some very iconic imagery associated with it. I really like the core concept that he was going for here of like, you know, they are among us. There is actually an other conspiring against you. You know, it's kind of a well-worn message. I think it's very relevant in its time and place in 1988. I think there's echoes of it today, but I think you could say there's echoes of things like this. I mean, it goes back to, you know, H.P. Lovecraft. It goes back to Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. You know, the whole idea of like your entertainment consumes you, and the things that you consume you kind of thing. Yeah. And all hail the Model T Ford kind of stuff. I'm a big Aldous Huxley fan too. So I think a lot of that stuff resonates, and a lot of the concepts I think are very strong in this movie. I think some of the weaker points in the movie, though, and like the acting is good. I didn't find the music as great in this movie. I thought it was a little bit weaker than in some of John Carpenter's other stuff. I also thought the writing and pacing in the movie were a little bit weaker than some of John Carpenter's other work. I think he was really focused on getting that message across and his criticism across. And I think it was a good vehicle for that. But I think the core movie suffered a little bit. I mean, yes, John Natta was a great character and what they did was good, and it got caught up in the action a little bit. But I think this is a good movie. And I really like the work that was done with the aliens and making them look kind of like corpses. You know, very different looking aliens.
It's kind of like they're the worst of society. Like they're the rotten.
Yeah, they're like rotten, you know. I heard somebody refer to them as rotten, which I thought was a good way of looking at it. They look like, you know, they don't have eyelids. Their eyes are always open, as opposed to ours, which would be closed to the consumer. I really enjoyed the messaging and the propaganda kind of angle of the movie. But like I said, I think, if we were just to sit and talk about the concept, I could sit and talk about the concept all day, and I think there's some real philosophical meat you can chew on with this movie. My downside would be like the movie itself is not the strongest movie, and especially towards the end, I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner about, well, what do we do? And they fell a little flat on their face. Just in like, there could have been a more heroic ending. I feel like they were like, okay, well, let's wrap this up.
That's not what John Carpenter does.
That's not what he does, though.
He doesn't really do heroic endings, but there could have been, I don't know, some different ending to this that would have made it maybe not have served the philosophy of the movie as well, but would have served the movie better.
Yeah.
Maybe our viewers could write ourselves a better ending.
Yeah, and they could at the padded room at outlook.com and let me know. But some comments that we got on our Instagram really resonated with me. I think Modern Monstrous said it, where it was just like, hey, it's kind of a good movie, but then the second half of it, it kind of plods along.
Yeah.
And philosophically strong movie. I don't think it's the best written movie. There's some issues that we can dive into. But Logan, what do you think about it?
This movie is a John Carpenter movie. Like at its finest. It is 100%. You can go into it thinking like, oh yeah, this starts out real, like just like every John Carpenter movie, like lulls you in kind of with like this point of view, this perspective of John Nada, this kind of like all-American guy. And throughout the movie, he becomes like this hero, becomes a little bit of a vigilante throughout. Like he starts making some trouble because like, again, though, we talked about it, his whole like ideal like is that America's perfect, everything's gonna work out just fine. And then the second it turns out that everything is all wrong, he just goes apeshit and just goes, oh yeah, I'm just gonna start destroying shit and just start killing people because it's fun. I think this movie is really good. Like, it is just a fun movie. It feels like an action movie. Every actor is really good. The music, I don't think is a strong suit. Like, the music isn't that good. But like,
which is like very strange for John. I felt awkward saying that about a John Carpenter movie because usually he's pretty on target with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to get into the music a little bit because it has a pretty bluesy vibe. Wouldn't you say? Like it starts out kind of, and it's different. There's no synth score or anything. And this was actually the last movie that John Carpenter and Alan Howarth collaborated on. They had done Escape from New York, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Big Trouble in Little China. So this seems to be kind of like their last hurrah, just on a sour note. And I agree, like the music to me was not.
It wasn't a big suit, but like at the same time, like the music wasn't a big thing. In other movies, it needed to be there. Like look at Halloween, for example. Like that movie,
it was a character in Halloween.
Desperately needed. But like this movie, you know, it's all about the action and the emotions portrayed. I think it's a great movie. Like it's a fun movie, especially that fight scene. That fight scene is still one of the best things I've seen.
5 minutes long.
Should we get into the fight scene?
Let's talk about the fight scene.
Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
To me, when I first saw this fight scene, I was like, oh man, this is pretty cool. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's still going. Holy shit, it's still going. Whoa, this is awesome. Like, holy cow. And then there's funny parts to the fight, too. Like, when...
and they're, like, getting dirty on the ground. Like, they're rolling around. I mean, I think the fight scene is very necessary to the movie overall because it's that whole thing of, like, of ideology. There almost needs to be a certain amount of violence, whether it's inflicted on you from the outside or whether it's internal violence that needs to take place for somebody who to kind of break that ideology or break the truth of how they see the world. And sometimes people don't want to see the truth. The truth could be staring them right in the face, but it's not an issue of whether the truth is there to be seen or not. It's an issue of whether they want to see it. And Keith David's character, who does he have a name in the movie? Frank. Yeah, Frank Armitage. That's right. You know, he just didn't want to see it. I mean, I think I don't know that he understood the gravity of the situation, but it was just one of those things of like, no, you've obviously, because at this point, John Nada had completely lost his shit. I mean, he had totally like, he had blown away a few people and everything like that. And it's like, dude, I don't want anything to do with any of, kidnapped some people. Like things have really, you know,
they've escalated.
They've escalated. And I could understand Frank not wanting to be, you know, no, I'm not going to play your game. I don't know if I'd be as brave as Frank to get into a fist fight with a man who had, you know, recently done a couple of shootings and kidnappings.
He didn't even know him that well either. He just knew the guy. He was just.
They were like bros. There was a little bit of a beef off, like when they were on the construction site. They were both. There was a mutual admiration of each other's beef. Like
they were broing out.
Yeah, they were broing out. There's a you know, beef show.
This movie's awesome.
This fight is so good. Did you like the wrestling scenes in it? A little like atomic drop,
suplex.
I don't think it was an atomic drop.
David like kicked himself off the wall to just fall backwards on the Piper. Like to your point, like it was funny when you think the fight's over. Like Keith David kind of just walks away.
Yes, yeah.
And Roddy pulls him back in.
Going back to like Roddy Piper being the perfect person, like that would totally be something wrestler Roddy Piper would do.
100%.
You're walking away.
Like he'd walk away, he'd fucking come right after you. Like that's definitely a Piper move. Piper would do that.
I still love the scene where he tries to hit him below the belt, and he goes, "Oh, you dirty motherfucker!
You dirty motherfucker!"
You know what? It would have been great is if he smashed a coconut over his head.
Three Stooges Piper's pit. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think it's a little over the top, granted, but there are some moments of realism too, because there are moments where like Frank goes to pick Nada up and you're like, okay, they're going to hug it out. This is over. And then he's like, nope. Boom. Stay down.
Yeah, man. I mean, I see that fight and I'm like sore after I watch that fight because, man, like those two gentlemen take quite a beating.
I was laughing.
The thing that's awesome about it too is it's not like a traditional choreographed fight too.
No, yeah.
Like it feels like you're actually legitimately beating the shit out of each other.
It's definitely the most realistic fight I think I've seen in a movie. It feels like they're fighting. He punched
through a car and then he grabbed like a wooden like
why was he so sorry about hitting the car?
I think it was Frank's car.
Oh, okay. And he was like, I know we're fighting, bro, but sorry about your car.
Yeah, because he's like, oh shit. And then the funny part though, the part that actually made me laugh out loud is when Frank goes to take that bottle and break it, and he hits it and it breaks the whole thing. And Roddy Piper or John Nada just laughs at him.
Because they're still bros. They're just having a little bit of a fist fight, you know?
They're just beating the shit out of each other.
Who doesn't do that with
He hit him with
the
back
suplex,
you
just gotta beat the shit out of.
Punch him like 100 times.
This fight lasted for 5 minutes and 20 seconds screen time. And
felt longer.
felt like 20 minutes.
John Carpenter actually put this fight scene in as an homage to one of his favorite movies, The Quiet Man, with John Wayne in it. There's a big fight scene in that movie.
John Wayne.
So some people think that like Roddy Piper was really the influence on it. It was John Carpenter who wanted this scene and obviously saw Piper as a great fit for.
You know, when the first time I saw this scene, I think was before I had even seen this movie, and I've saw this movie before this, but was I think South Park.
Yeah. Yes. Did you guys ever see that South Park episode?
You have to re-jog my memory.
Timmy and
Jimmy. Timmy and Jimmy fighting?
Yeah, Timmy and Jimmy fighting. Yeah.
It's called the Cripple Fight.
Okay.
That's the name of the episode.
I didn't realize that was an homage to They Live.
Oh, okay. I see that.
Yeah, because he suplexes him.
They reenact it scene by scene in South Park.
Can we get a in podcast video of just the entire fight?
Let me tell you something. Let me give you a shout out to Cool Kids Film Club podcast. They actually have a video on YouTube where they filmed it up side by side. Yep. I got to give them a shout out.
And that's what I talk about. Like the concepts and some of the things that this movie did resonated a lot with people and had a really big impact on the artistic world.
I want to hear what you guys think about the specific scene where John Nada puts on the sunglasses for the first time and he's walking down the streets and he sees the black and white, right? And what's behind the signs and things. What were your opinions on that? Because I think some people are a little thrown off with it going black and white and then in color.
That scene is perfection to me.
What is the grievance with the switching of the color
It's
to black
just,
and white?
yeah, it's just, I think it's the way some people see it as like, it throws them out of the movie a little bit because of the black and white image.
I think the idea of it being black and white is the truth is black and white.
Ooh.
Right. It's plain.
Yeah.
It's not
plain,
as
clear as day.
Wow,
Yeah.
I like
Black
that.
and white.
I like that.
Plus,
sure.
I also like how necessary it is to show you how the point of view completely changes. Like you go from color to black and white. It's such a stark difference. And how the character sees the world before and after that. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie, when he's just looking around and he realizes, like, you know, seeing the money and it says, "This is your God." And like, his eyes are open. He kind of sees it in a different way. I think he loses his ideology when he sees the cops show up, like, in force and attack that church. I think that's the moment when his eyes open up a little bit more. And then the glasses are like his true, like, moment of clarity. Like, the ideology is lost and he has to now interpret this world in a new way.
It's funny because it's like, I almost like the juxtaposition of, like, you put on glasses, it's like rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. But
Carpenter said something like that. The rose-colored glasses was like...
This is kind of the reversal.
Yeah.
So I like that. Logan, what'd you think of the grocery store scene where he walks in the grocery store scene?
I thought it was really cool. I think still between that or the bank scene are two of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
That bank scene is so badass, but that grocery store scene is like really good because I like how he's chill at the moment because he's still like contemplating it. He's still like thinking it out because he's got to see everyone else. And then he just goes balls to the wall. It's like, "You're ugly."
I take these glasses off. She looks like a regular person, doesn't she, huh? Put them back on. Formaldehyde face.
Starts just going after this whole...
The creepy part is like when they are like, "Oh, they see us."
I've got one that can see.
He sees us, and they go
and
to
they
their,
all got their
they go to
wristwatches.
their like wristwatch things, and they all start talking to each other.
I think
I'm
it
like,
gets
"Oh,
creepy when they
shit."
start like getting together and start like
Like mob mentality a little bit. Yeah.
Because then he starts back, and I like how he goes, "You're okay. You're not." See this one? Not good.
You're not okay.
You're okay. This one, real fucking ugly.
Yeah.
This one, not so much.
Yeah. And then you get into the bank scene, and he walks in there and, of course, has the famous line that everybody knows. "I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," which was his line. Was Roddy Piper's line that he brought to John Carpenter. John Carpenter asked him for a couple, like, wrestling lines, and he gave that, and he was like, "Well, it doesn't really work, but it's gonna work for
We'll make it work."
Right.
We'll just do this whole bank scene that wasn't even in the final cut of the movie, but we'll make it work. I think it's so cool that every time after he puts on the sunglasses and starts like getting into that character, he just starts going like crazy with these one-liners. Like every single line that he has is so damn good.
Life's a bitch. She's back in heat.
It has a ton of one-liners in this movie, which I think are like some...
The bank scene was so pivotal for the character, too, because it's the first time he's getting some vengeance. Now he knows why the world is unjust. And it's his first time, like, being able to be like, okay, well, there's the problem, and now I'm going to do something about it. It's that, like...
Taking action.
Taking action. The first time the world isn't just kicking his ass.
It's kind of like that classic, like, writer circle of, like how you do it. Like, you have your moment of like, okay, we meet our character, something happens that makes them act a certain different way. They're trying to get to
the hero's journey.
Hero's journey. Every single thing lines up with it's perfectly written. It's a great movie. My God, Roddy Piper is like a perfect actor for this. No one else would be better than Roddy Piper because, like, as Dan said, like you feel like you are rooting for Roddy Piper because, like, he's
very easy to root for.
Yeah,
Piper.
he's just a normal guy.
I think, too, what's pivotal is they almost show this movie from the homeless perspective as well. Because there is that time spent in the homeless camp and getting to know a little bit of the characters. Obviously, they're not big time characters, but we do see that character played by what's his name, Buck Flowers, who ends up coming back later on in the movie as he's crossed over. He's sold out with the aliens.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of a cool foreshadowing of somebody struggling down on their luck.
Yep.
Selling out.
Boom.
I still think it's funny though that the entire like raid scene basically did nothing for the rest of the movie, because I thought they were gonna be like, oh, we're gonna get these guys out of jail, or we're gonna like find a way to like get these guys back in like the shuffle, and then it was just like, nah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got a question on that. Why did this raid scene happen over like destroying the homeless camp? Were they specifically looking for the rebellion from the church? Or were they just destroying a homeless camp?
Yeah, I guess it could really go either way. I
think it has to do with the TV interference, right?
Yeah, probably, because they were trying to...
They were jamming the
signal, and somehow they're able to triangulate that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the whole studio there, so they probably...
Well, I mean, the aliens have technology. Like, I mean, they can teleport. So, I mean, they should be able to get into a pirate signal, no problem.
That and the aliens were very much aware that there was a resistance in the area as well.
My question is how did they get the sunglasses? They called them Hoovers, or what do they call them?
Probably made them.
Manufacturing Hoffman lenses till we're blue in the face.
I think they made them because
they had a class, but they called them something like Hoffman glasses.
Hoffmans, yeah, something like that.
It would have been interesting to know the lore about that. Who was Hoffman?
Dustin Hoffman.
Toothpicks, 246 total.
See, I didn't do that much research into it, but I remember they were saying Roddy Piper was going around after this movie saying it was based on real life events, and he didn't realize that there was
too many suplexes.
Well, he didn't realize that there was this comedy thing taken from like TVs that were sending a signal out to women to buy certain things, and I thought that was Hoffman. Like, I don't know, I could be wrong.
He said it was based on like there was supposedly these TVs in the 1950s that were subliminally telling women, but that actually turned out to be a movie as well.
Yeah,
it wasn't based on any.
That's it. Yeah, because Roddy Piper thought that was real, and they were criticizing Roddy Piper for that. But I don't know. I mean,
Hoffman lenses.
I just assumed it was because Logan was like, what are they making meth in here in the church?
It did look like a meth lab. Like, it looked like out of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, because they had so I was just assuming they were making those in the church, because the leader there, who is kind of one of the leaders in the homeless area, he was saying about like, should we ship it on the streets? He was like, no, that won't work.
That won't do anything. Yeah, because it's just not enough. I mean, they can't make enough Hoffman lenses for people to see the truth.
They did jack shit as a rebellion.
Well, I got a question. John Otta kidnaps Holly, right?
Yeah.
And
the program director.
Yeah, and
assistant program.
Is she's a double agent the whole time? Because I was confused.
She was
She seemed pretty chill about the whole being held hostage and stuff. She was kind of very aloof to the whole situation.
No, I'm all right.
She didn't seem like she was that riled up about it.
She was like the the rich guy that John Nada and Frank met. Like, she was working with them
with the aliens.
Because, again, she was rich. She had like a good job.
Yeah.
So she did it for like money, which, makes sense. And it makes sense too, because like the second she showed up in the base of like operations that all the like rebellion were using, shit went off the rails, and it became
right. Yep. Yeah.
It became like Raw's War, and started like it just that was the funniest.
That was crazy, man.
Dude, I didn't see that coming a mile away, and then just started blowing up. I'm like, holy shit.
They were shooting people. Holy shit.
Should have watched her wristwatch.
Seinfeld.
I know.
I don't know how he was like, you know what? I forgive you for hitting me in the back of the head and tossing me out a second-story building.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
I thought I killed you.
I thought so too.
Dude, that
happens, sometimes, you just get tossed out of a sight. And he just went right through that window,
Dude,
too.
he went out like a bag of shit.
I was going to say, she must have been pretty strong, too. I mean, to throw somebody through plate glass is no...
Well, no, he got hit with the bottle, and then the force
momentum
of that...
Oh, the momentum of that through
Of course.
He was bent over near her, and she hit him with the bottle, and he fell through the window.
Logan and me were watching this together. Logan audibly was like, "Oh my god!" Like it's just because it kind of lulls you along a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's like,
she does it so fluidly and quick.
Dude, that's the great thing about John Carpenter.
Wow.
He just does those things where it's like, oh, it's nice and quiet, and then boom.
Speaking of music, this I really liked because as soon as he gets hit with that glass and goes through the window, the soundtrack kicks in. The score is like, boom. And like I thought that was really perfect how that happened. But you're right though. The whole time she's kidnapped, she's kind of just like,
all right, we'll see how this all plays out.
I'll take you to my house.
I thought she kind of had like a dom and sub thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, all right.
What
tell me
John
what to do
Otta
next.
was her daddy a little bit.
I mean, Roddy Piper's a very attractive man. I mean,
We ain't back with Hollis. Come on, man.
I want to get to the ending. What's your thoughts on the ending? Because Bearclaw, I think, touched on it a little bit at the beginning. It felt a little abrupt.
it all
right?
just kind of falls apart. I mean, they get into this thing, exposition. Like they go into they jump into this tunnel. Okay, there turns out to be a magic tunnel system throughout. Okay, great. Then the Drifter shows up, and he just and you know. It's right back to the Psycho movie where all of a sudden the psychologist just explains everything. The Drifter just shows up and is like...
and no.
Yes, and no.
Yes, and no. Like, the guy who was a drifter and now is like a millionaire, and he kind of like just walks them through and is like, oh, you guys sold out too.
How you doing, boys? I didn't know you'd been recruited.
Even though they're clearly like, don't look like they're doing so hot.
Well,
And
it's different people.
just is totally like, oh, here's the teleportation room. Oh, and everything must be going through this room. Let me show you guys. And then, you know, that kind of sets up the whole last scene with John Nada and Holly shooting Frank in the head. It just kind of is like, okay, so the aliens have taken over. So what are we going to do? And so he, you know, blows up the receiver, and I guess that shows everybody the truth. And I mean, it's kind of funny at the end. I guess I will give it some credit at the end there, especially with the Siskel and Ebert scene.
All the sex and violence on the screen has gone too far for me.
That was a big fuck you to them, like, which I liked. I enjoyed
friend
that.
Ebert.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't agree with most of Siskel and Ebert's takes on movies, so that was cool. But and that last scene was cool. But like, it just kind of was like, okay, and now here's the end, and we all kind of wake up. Maybe, I don't know. There could have been some ambiguity could have left to it. There was a lot of things that I think could have been done differently in the end.
I mean, it's John Carpenter. You got to think about that. Like, there's not going to be a hopeful ending in this. I guess out of every ending that could have possibly happened, and I touched on the fact of like, oh, they'll probably just die at the end of this movie and nothing will happen, and they'll just keep on going the way it is because that's society for you. But like, I think it's a good ending because it gives you that hopefulness, and it gives you that kind of like, you don't know what's going to happen next kind of feeling, because you're like, oh, what's going to happen now that the aliens have been revealed? But I get you, like that entire like last 20 minutes were very like, what the hell? Like, why are you showing this now after, you know, an hour of just like nothing, and now you're kind of just giving us all this needless exposition, which I hate in movies, but
yeah.
It's perfect because I like the ending a lot because I wasn't expecting it. I was very happy with the way it ended.
Roddy Piper or John? I keep calling him Roddy Piper. He is Roddy Piper.
He's Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
He gives the finger as he goes out.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Dan, what'd you think of the ending?
I feel like it left a lot to be desired. I agree with a lot of Bearclaw's sentiments on it. He mentioned earlier, like, Carpenter really wanted the main point of his movie to be like his message. The creativity in the movie kind of took a backseat to it. You can kind of see that towards the end. It feels kind of rushed. Specifically, I didn't really like the humor at the end.
Oh, yeah, the Siskel and Ebert stuff.
Well, that, or like the final scene was like, I believe like a chick was riding an alien and she realized.
What's the matter, baby?
Yeah, stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I'll get to my explanation as to why that into the stinker section.
All right.
Because I have the ending as my stinker.
What's the matter?
Let's get into our conspiracy corner. Does anybody have any conspiracies they want to bring in?
So I've got one, and this isn't mine. Again, this is taken from a couple of other sources. So I don't want to claim originality on my part, but my conspiracy corner around this movie is that the aliens are just as enslaved as humanity in this movie.
Okay.
Because think about it, right? They are here. I mean, obviously, this is kind of colonialism, right? That's kind of the message there. They think of this as like a third world country to them, and they're trying to extract. But if you look at them, they're not that separated. They're not only the elites. They kind of are all throughout the stratas of the society. They use all the things. They eat all the food. They're around all of these things. Like, do they see the obey and everything like that? I mean, I don't know. Are they under as much control as humanity are? They work with humans. They have friendly relationships with humans. They're breeding with humans, apparently, you know, they're like, you know, as is explicitly shown, and they're as dependent on the system as humans are. I feel like a lot of the things that rings untrue to me, and you know, this was obviously to get a philosophical point across, but the whole thing of like, listen, if aliens really wanted to conquer humanity, they just need to send an amped up version of the flu around and we'd all die in biological warfare and we'd all be dead, right?
That's
like,
true, yeah.
They don't need to do any of this nonsense, but like they're just as beholden to this system as we are. And you kind of get into the same thing with like a colonial government or something like that. Like they're as much part of the mechanisms of the system as the people that are being conquered. That was kind of my conspiracy with this, is they're kind of just enslaved by this whole system as much as the humans are. They might have more control, but they still don't have complete control.
Is that, you think, from themselves? Like they're putting that on
is
themselves?
it, or is there
know.
some other third? Is there some other third party not mentioned? Is there like, why would they go shopping in grocery stores? Why would they integrate themselves so much into society when there could just be, in theory, if they got enough collaborators and human collaborators, there could be like 10 of them running the show.
Maybe it's just the whole control angle. Like
yeah,
they just want to be in control or feel like they have control.
Or feel like they're in control, but like still, I feel like you could achieve very similar things without going to all the hassle of blending in at every level of society. I mean, they were all over the place.
Maybe it's like a game to them. This is
that could be it. It's them getting their kicks, right, fooling the silly monkeys. I mean,
if we're having that much issue, like finding out like what their reasoning is, doesn't that kind of make the movie kind of feel weird if like we don't know what their actual angle is? I feel like they didn't explain that well.
I thought Buck Flowers there, the drifter, explained like something about using up our
resources.
Right,
yeah.
But that's the
to what
human.
End? Yeah,
that's the human answer. We don't know what the real.
You're right.
He even says many times during that monologue where he's just like, I don't know what this is, you know?
Well, he doesn't care because he's getting paid and he's comfy.
Yeah.
And he's got that cool watch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's got the cool watch. He's in the in crowd.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
And my other hot take, I don't know. I don't know whether this is hot takes or maybe this is a conspiracy corner that moves into hot takes, is why did the aliens need to do any of this? Why do they need to have these systems in place? Why do they even need to hide? I feel like with the right PR, they could have just came to Earth and been part of society and would have worked their way up to the upper crusts without any hypnotism or any nonsense like that.
Maybe this is step one.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think, to be honest with you, even John Nada destroying that satellite or whatever, and they're all revealed, I think there would be a couple of weeks of like a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to go genocide them because they're colonials? You know, are they going to negotiate some type of terms with the human government
That'd be the other
and then
way around.
integrate into society and be Andromedans that, you know, Andromedans for peace or whatever throughout the world? And why would they even have to hide at a certain point?
Well, here's my question, too. Is this satellite, is this just for Los Angeles or is it for the whole world?
I feel like aliens in Los Angeles wouldn't be the weirdest thing in Los Angeles.
But I mean, like taking that satellite down, does that take the whole veil down for the world?
I don't think they cared that much.
Yeah.
It seemed like the rebellion had bigger plans, and this was step one of the plan, and John Nada and Frank weren't listening as much because they were too busy worrying about they were worried about Holly and getting to kick some alien acid. They didn't actually listen to the plan Because there probably was a bigger plan. Like, hey, we need to actually take out
a
lot more satellites.
I feel like the plan kind of got shot to shit when, like, you know, the guns all like
when the resistance died.
When the resistance died, yeah.
We're what's left. There's no one else that can do this.
Those are kind of my two conspiracy theories. Is one, the aliens are just as enslaved as humanity because they have to go through these whole steps, and two, even if the aliens were, and there's a sci-fi story that I always reference. The gist of the story is they discover an alien spaceship that's around Saturn or something like that. Like, humanity discovers it via telescopes. And, like, for the first couple of days, it's like this really big deal. But they can't get to the spaceship in a reasonable amount of time because it's in a sci-fi world that is exactly our own. So, okay, so there's aliens. Okay, so what?
Yeah.
What does that change? I mean, yes, there's some philosophical changes, I guess, knowing there's intelligent life on the outside of our world, but, like, fundamentally, you know, you still got to go to work in the morning.
That's true.
That sci-fi story kind of puts this into perspective for me, at least from a conspiracy kind of point of view.
Does anybody else have any other conspiracies?
Frank is an alien.
He was an alien the entire time.
Yeah.
I think for me, my only conspiracy is kind of revolving around the movie because They Live debuted at #1 in the box office. The second week, it was in the top 10 still. And then by the third week, this movie was forgotten about.
Huh.
And I'm just wondering, to put my tinfoil hat on here, if some of the things talked about in this movie were rubbing certain people the wrong way,
and they put a cap on it.
Yeah, because I mean, it feels like this movie. Okay, I'm not saying this movie is like the best movie ever made. It's you know, it's not.
But it was #1 in the box office, and it was still top 10 a week later. So it's weird that it would just go away after 2 weeks.
And I feel like it did go away for like a lot, and it's been pushed down. I know we have the moments in pop culture that are referenced a lot. But like, as far as this movie being talked about a lot, it's not really discussed.
Not the most accessible movie in the world either.
You're right. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if this is life imitating art a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's about societal norms and especially people in power, who's on top. And, you know, it makes sense that there's some people that are rubbed the wrong way. Like, I'm not an alien.
Like, let's hide this movie.
Let's just hide it in plain sight. Like, we'll just kind of, no, definitely.
All right. Well, this gets us on to hot takes. I want to start with my hot take because I think y'all kind of mentioned, like, with the pacing stuff, right? With this movie, it felt a little weird. I actually think that this movie is paced specifically the way it is because John Carpenter loved Westerns. And this feels a lot like a Western because you have a little bit of putting yourself in the motion at the beginning, kind of that drawn out middle section, and then the ending's kind of like boom, 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 boom. To the end.
Yeah, that's a hot but fair take.
Like a new age Western, I guess.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And one of my other hot takes is kind of one we already touched on. Is this the best fight scene in movie history? Because I love this fight
It's
scene.
up there.
That's pretty cool, for sure.
Yeah.
It's up there with Godzilla and Kong.
Well, like Dan said, this for like a realistic type of fight scene. I know, and obviously I know it's a movie.
Yeah.
But just a street fight. How many street fights are like this? I know you get like John
The
Wick,
Jets and the
but he's
Sharks.
going crazy. Pony Boy and the
the Outsiders.
Yeah.
I think it is the best fight. John Wick is a good. John Wick doesn't fight people though; he just shoots them. That's the difference.
I know Gung Fu.
I'm thinking I'm back.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Nick Cage has good fight scenes.
Yeah, he.
I think this is the best fight scene. I think legitimately. If South Park is copying it,
then you know it's good.
You know it's good. Yeah, if pop culture is thinking about it, then yeah.
Does anyone else have any hot takes?
I have a hot take.
All right.
John and Frank, they should have just joined the aliens.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.
I mean, look at their drifter friend. He was no longer homeless.
Yeah.
He clearly bathed for the first time in like 2 years.
He's not just smoking bogues by a TV set outside.
Trying to talk to him.
Same guy?
Yeah.
Or is it just?
Yeah.
He's got new clothes.
That's what I noticed this time watching it is the same guy. Because when I first watched it, I was like, wait a minute, who's this guy who's acting like he's their friend?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the drifter with the TV.
Yeah, like, you even go like on a vacation to their home planet.
He's living the life, so they should want to live that, right?
And John could have gotten like a sequel, and he could have had like a steamy romance where he plows Holly across the universe. But John's stupid and dead now, though.
Yeah.
And for what? So that the aliens could be exposed? Do they not think the aliens don't have a plan in case something like this happens?
Or like backup antenna that they just turn on and wipe everybody's mind or something like that.
It's so short-sighted and
It
poorly
doesn't
written.
seem like Holly likes Nada that much. She just wanted him a part of just to make sure he wasn't going to kill.
She was cold the entire movie. There didn't even feel like there was a romance there or anything like that.
I didn't like her that much.
No.
Like, as an actress. She was
terrible.
She just kind of said her lines.
Do you think she was acting resting bitch face, or is that an active resting bitch face? Is that a natural resting
I have not
bitch
seen
face?
that actor enough to judge her on that, but there was definitely resting bitch face. She was very upset.
Well, okay, this begs my question. Like, is she acting cold, or is she just kind of cold as an actress?
Or we could even cut it. Is she acting, or is she just show up to say her lines?
There's a hot take.
Here I am.
Is she an actor?
Yeah. So I've got a hot take, and I don't think this is going to be a popular hot take, but this is about the movie overall. And keeping in mind, please, that I am a huge fan of John Carpenter's work.
Oh, he's coming to you, Logan, joining their dark side.
But I gotta be honest with you, this is one of Carpenter's worst movies.
Oh,
I agree.
That's hard to say.
If you look at his catalog of movies, and I love Big Trouble in Little China, I love.
This is worse than Ghost of Mars.
I haven't seen Ghost of Mars, so maybe this is not. Maybe this is. I said this is one of Carpenter's worst movies.
You should say this is the worst movie that I've seen from John Carpenter.
Yeah, that might be a fair. That might be a better
if you
wording.
haven't seen that movie, then
buckle up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the worst movie of John Carpenter's that I've seen.
Okay, so this is the worst movie ever.
No, not the worst movie ever, but the worst of John Carpenter's movies that
Logan,
I've seen.
I disagree. It is the worst. I regret nothing.
I like how you went
nothing.
into that.
No, I guess I have to put a few qualifiers there. But I mean, I get what he was trying to do here, putting the philosophy first, which I admire. I think it's a strong message. It's something that makes you examine things, which I'm always a huge fan of. But as far as the movies goes, it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not the greatest movie in the world. And, because one of the hard things is about this whole episode for me is to not go up my own ass with the philosophy of it and colonialism and talk about propaganda, ideology, manufacturing consent. There's a lot of that stuff you can talk about, but just thinking about it, this is a movie, and as a movie, it's not one of his strongest. That's my hot take.
All right. Logan, any hot takes?
I got a hot take. I think this is one of John Carpenter's best movies. I would say for me, this is strongly at probably number 3 for John Carpenter movies. I think Halloween's the best. The Fog is right there at number 2, and then this is number 3.
Oh, good top
Big Trouble
three.
Little China's an honorary mention, though. I love that movie.
As we
Great movie.
As we review some more John Carpenter movies in the future, we should do our top.
our top Carpenter.
Our Carpenter rankings?
Yeah.
I would 100% do that, because there is at least top 6 movies are great movies just on their own, not even John Carpenter.
Logan's
movies.
changing his tune.
Yeah, Halloween's 1 through...
Oh, get that shit out of here. Halloween 5's the worst.
Gentlemen, it's time for our Hall of Slain. We have to nominate some characters from They Live. Our Hall of Slain are characters that have died in movies we've reviewed that would help us get through and survive a horror movie, because we are the final girl.
Well, I mean, come on, Frank, right? I mean, it's got to be Frank. I mean, I guess it could technically be John Nada too, but I think I'd rather have Frank.
It's very simple. You want somebody who can take a lot of punishment and also deliver.
Yeah.
I think both of them as a package deal is my kind
That's
of
what
thing.
I was thinking too.
Yeah.
You can't have one
Do you
without
really
the
want
other.
them fighting each other, though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially because
For entertainment purposes, sure.
first they're gonna have like a beef show off where they're gonna be like admiring each other's biceps, and then the next thing you know,
They're humping each other.
Well, I don't know. I think there was a bromance, not necessarily a romance, but hey, you know,
They were
it could have been.
Dude, they were like, there was a scene where I thought they were humping each other on the ground, but instead it was just him driving his knee into his dick.
Oh, is that the fight scene?
Yeah.
Don't
Like a
we
good
want
minute.
these guys to like maybe help toughen us up, get in a little brawl?
Yeah, I
make
mean,
sure
I
we're-
guess they
Iron
could get us.
sharpens iron?
Right.
They could get us 80s tough. Maybe that. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Put the priest in there. He's in my hall is slain.
The priest. Oh,
Yeah.
the blind priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't go
Wow.
down. That's true. He's fighting to the very end there.
But we don't see him die, do we?
I don't think we see him die. I think
no
he's
one can
detained.
die.
That's
He's
a
right
disqualification. He's in
Yeah.
our hearts. I mean, I'm gonna nominate John Nada and Frank Armitage. Who
Yeah.
seconds?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All
All right. Say aye. All right.
I need a gavel.
The eyes have it. You know, we need fire it up.
Fire it up. Fire it up. Fire it up. Look at Logan. He's so proud of himself. It's time for hook, line, and stinker. Our hook is our favorite kill of the movie. Our line is our favorite line or quote in the movie. And our stinker is something funny, awful, or weird that happens that makes the movie either better or worse. My hook, there's not many like real cool death scenes in this, but I do like the bank scene where Nada blows away that teller with a shotgun to the head, and it's in black and white, and you just see that black splatter in the back.
That was the scene that got me. I was like, oh shit, he got him.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and I liked it in black and white. I did, because there
Yeah.
is something kind of like your imagination plays.
Oh,
with it
yeah.
a little bit when you don't see all the graphic, gory details.
Quite perfect.
My line, there are a ton of lines in this movie. I'm going to go with the classic one because this is something I had heard for so long, and it always made me want to check out this movie. And then when I did, I was like, why didn't I check out this
Here to
movie?
eat ass and take bubblegum, and I'm all out of ass.
What?
Not that one.
That's a different movie.
I think you downloaded the wrong They Live. That was called They Bone.
Whoa! Is that car movie that our editor Nathan loves canonically?
Editor's note, Kevin gave Teton 3.5 stars out of 5 on his letterbox, so canonically, he likes it as well.
Don't get him started with the car fucking movie.
This is a family show. gentlemen.
Edited in.
Teton is my favorite movie of this decade. It is about a woman who is a serial killer who fucks a car.
My line is,
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
just think it's cool. It's Roddy Piper's line from that he brought into it, and it's in pop culture. Duke Nukem, the game, has it in it, so it's pretty cool. My stinker is Frank's death. I feel like Frank is such a cool character,
And he's just taken out by Holly, just
and
shot
off
in the head.
screen too.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why it was so like good. At least for me, I liked it because I didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what solidified this movie for me when I was just like, oh, this ending is just going to be a total like shit show. And I love it.
What if Frank didn't die? What if he turned around to Holly and was just like, yo, just put me on the team?
Ooh,
what if he was just like, yeah,
I got kids to feed.
Yeah, I got kids to feed. I got a family. Just put me back on the team. And, you know, what's that guy from The Matrix who's like, just put me back in. I don't want to know anymore. I know that this steak isn't real. It doesn't matter. Just put me back in. That's a very, I feel like that would be a very logical reaction to all of this.
Alternate ending. Frank is the one with the gun again.
Nada,
yeah.
That would have been a cool ending.
That would have been much better.
Maybe
they would have been like, hey, listen, they took me aside and talked to me, and because Nada doesn't have a family or anything. He's kind of a lone character, but Frank has a clearly established family, and he's like, listen, man, for my family, and that would have had a lot more gravity to it too.
I think it would have been cool if they both kind of shot each other.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
What can you do? Yeah, I mean, I just thought Frank was such a kind of beloved character. He's part of the team. Power and glory, Log, right?
Power and glory.
And then he shot off screen. So
My
that's
boy's
stinker.
stable.
Dan, how about you?
My hook is John Nada's death. I think it's just because it's the most significant and important death in the entire movie. He sacrifices himself in giving hope that destroying the tower will wake humanity up from its slumber. My line is, our projections show that by the year 2025, not only America, but the entire planet will be under the protection and dominion of this power alliance.
The gains have been substantial, both for ourselves and for you, the human power elite.
I kind of find it chillingly accurate, that's all.
Cool read of the room. Who would join the aliens? Who would join John Nada and the Resistance?
I'm joining the aliens.
Yeah, I'm pretty much joining the aliens.
Rebellion.
Rebellion.
Yeah.
Rebellion, yeah.
Screw your rich.
Well, we're against
wants.
each other.
Yeah.
I look forward to eating you as a steak on my plate. Stinker.
Ending.
The tone of the closing moments of this movie needed to be ultra violent. It didn't need that haha funny, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Hey, what's wrong, baby?
Like, give me some aliens being pulled apart by angry mobs of people. Give people the reality that this isn't the end of the war, but only the beginning. John doesn't save the human race. The human race still has to save itself, and that should have been the message.
It's like the ending of Dune 2.
You know, I kind of have a
hot take.
Maybe not a hot take, but a counterclaim. Yeah,
Okay.
on what you're saying. Maybe that this is kind of just a precursor to, like, a lot of humans are kind of okay with aliens. You know,
that's the other thing is the ending we were talking about has that ambiguity where it's like in a week or two from now, like Bearclaw was saying, like, oh, like it might be a little shaky or whatever, but I think people would just normalize and accept it.
Well, I mean, aren't Andromedans people too? Like they could plead their case. Like we have sentience. We've done a lot of good things for you guys
Right?
here, like, and we can do more good things, I mean, it's a classic tale of colonialism, right? Because they're supposedly have, so, they'd say, oh, hey, whoa, we're sorry about all the war crimes and stuff. But, hey, let's move forward together,
Yeah, it is true. Because, like, I was thinking that, too, what you said, Dan, about, like, why there should be, like, these scenes of, I want to see, like, a more active
But here's the other
rebellion.
thing, too. Okay, let's say humanity raises this army to kill all Andromedans. Let's take a philosophical point of view on this. So we're going to commit genocide?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, John Nada.
John Nada was all on the genocide train of
Frank,
Andromedans.
yeah,
I mean many of those Andromedans, many of them were rich and powerful, but not all of them. I mean, some of them were just going to work, working on a coal mine in a colonialized place. That looks a little different, but, we're all of a sudden going to conduct genocide on Andromedans. I mean, does that make us any better?
For sure.
Does that, I mean, I'm just the devil's advocate here, you know what I mean? But
it certainly would make me feel better.
it made John Nada feel better in the bank scene, which is my hook.
That's your hook.
Yeah.
All right.
I really like that as the hook because it's the one time you see John Nada take control of the situation. He blows away the aliens. I just thought it was really a cool scene. And there's not too many other hooks that are there. But like you said, the black and white bit of it is really good. My line is the Drifter's line because I think in a modern context, this movie has a little bit more significance, at least the philosophy behind it. And my favorite part was the Drifter when he says, "What's wrong with having it good for a change? Now they're going to let us have it good if we just help them. They're going to leave us alone. Let us make some money. You can have a little taste of the good life too. Now I know you want it. Hell, everybody does, Frank.
Do it to your own kind."
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.
There's a certain, I don't know.
Certain validity to what he's kind of saying.
Yeah.
Cowardice.
There's a certain cowardice, true. You know, the other side of it is like, oh, okay, so, you know, you're going to help these oppressors oppress people. Or that makes you just as bad as they are. And, oh, okay, you were just following orders. Oh, you can do whatever atrocities and justify it as just following orders. So you gotta look at it from all angles. There's evils on all sides sometimes. The stinker is in my mind is the dialogue in this movie, because it's very dot 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 dot. You say this, you say this.
Don't fuck with me.
I'm thirsty.
They did their best to put as much flavor to it as they could, but I thought it was a little bit bland as far as the dialogue goes. And though Roddy Piper's lines were awesome, they really, like, you didn't see John Nada throwing those out all the time. It was like a very specific moments.
They didn't have him go above and beyond his limitations.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought the dialogue could have been a little bit better in this movie.
Is Roddy Piper a better actor than Hulk Hogan?
Yes. Yeah.
Brother.
Brother.
My hook, I have two. It's a Bank Teller one. And then there was another one that I did just see as I was looking at the different kills in this movie, and there was one grenade death that looked really cool. And I really like that. I like anything that has like a violent, like kind of like afterburn.
Explosion.
Yeah, or explosion or something like that. Something that really gets me to like second gear of just like, oh yeah, this movie kicks ass. That shotgun kill is so cool. My line is,
Daddy, I have a headache.
Me too, honey.
me too. Does nothing to fix the problem. Just sits there. Like I wrote that down too. I wrote down in parentheses, does nothing to fix the problem.
Nothing to resolve the issue.
Oh.
The other guy had to show up and actually help the daughter out. And then my stinker is, now I did back this up, but I will say, killing off Frank and Nada quickly after an hour and a half of them being almost unkillable, even after being shot at, almost blown up, falling down a hill.
There was some real stormtrooper shooting going on, because they were clearly, like, there was clearly automatic weapons, like, going off and just missing. Like,
it's their power.
I mean,
and glory.
Dude, they were being shot at, almost blown up.
In an alley at, like, point blank range, where, like...
Oh, wait a minute. That brings me to a good point. That alley scene before they go into that portal, there was a very similar shot that we saw in The Thing of the flares in the alleyway, and it was like giving those bright pinks and things. That was cool.
I mean, they had a 40-minute wrestling match, like, and they still didn't
went to a no contest.
It went to a no contest, yeah, but it was still 5 stars. I mean, eat your heart out, Dave Meltzer. It was a great 5 stars.
No poison ranas.
This wasn't in the Tokyo Dome, though.
Oh, yeah. Dave Meltzer only likes 2 people, and they're both New Japan people.
Any honorable mentions?
I'd just like to honorable mention, as I was saying it, I remember it being a stinker. That gunfighting scene in the alleyway, I mean, they were at point blank range and still, like, with fully automatic. Everybody was firing at everybody and nobody was hitting shit. Like,
yeah, that makes
come on,
sense.
Man. Like, that's some real stormtrooper.
Maybe
like,
the aliens can't shoot.
Their eyes are always open, though, I guess. And also...
They had dry eye.
Yeah, maybe they had dry eye. Also, where's the alien weapons? Why they're always going to use, like, you know, I feel like...
That's not this kind of alien. This alien has gotten used to the guns from America.
Yeah, I mean, if they used alien weapons, alien technology, then we would know.
I mean, are colonial people going to put down their muskets and pick up spears to subjugate people? Like,
I don't know.
My honorable mention, quote, "They live, we sleep."
I have that too I like it on the wall too. That was very cool. Yeah. I have an honorable mention, kind of one Logan talked about earlier in the grocery store, where John Nada goes to this other woman. He goes, you're okay. This one's real fucking ugly. And then she goes, I got one that can see. I thought that was a very creepy, like...
Yeah, it would have been funny if she didn't realize that he could see, and instead he was just being like that. Aliens aren't usually that mean. Only humans can be that mean. In Los Angeles, nonetheless.
That's true. It's time for our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. What will they rate the movie? The killer is great, the victim sucks, the survivor is in between. What was love that.
Our final rating system is Killer. It's our highest rating. It's awesome. We would highly recommend. It is a must watch. Survivor is our middle tier. It's a good movie. We would probably recommend and has some rewatchability. Last is The Dreaded Victim. It's our lowest rating. It's a bad movie. We do not recommend and no rewatchability. For me, John Carpenter's They Live is a killer. I think there is some negatives I have on this movie for sure. I think the music isn't the best. I think some of the middle kind of drags on a little bit, and it isn't like a fully fleshed out, like good story. I get all those aspects, but Roddy Piper is John Otta, Keith David. These are like really great roles. I think you can feel it just come through the screen. They have this natural charisma together. The fight scene is amazing. It's amazing. The visuals of putting on the sunglasses. I even just like the cool way the sunglasses look. I think that was a cool concept. And then you get the black and white view versus the regular view. And then I liked at the end too, once the satellite's destroyed and you see the aliens and they are in color, I kind of liked that, like the imagery there. So thought that was cool. This is definitely not my favorite John Carpenter movie. I think it could be maybe one of his weaker ones, but just something about this movie just hit me really good. And I do think it is a movie that should be watched and talked about more, because there is a lot of discourse on this as well. Dan, how about you?
I give this movie a Survivor rating. As much as I like to think that the social commentary aligns like with my worldview and how I see things, I kind of feel like it is a detriment to my enjoyment of the movie. Like, I like to watch movies to escape my reality, not really so much to endorse them. I think that this is one of the weaker Carpenter movies. I enjoy it, but I think you guys kind of touched on a lot of the negatives that I kind of agree with. It's a good concept, but weak story, good message, too much ambiguity at the end. That's my overall thoughts on it. I think it is a cult classic, and it has a lot of good iconic scenes to it that I think, resonates with a lot of people, and it certainly will, I think, survive like the test of time. I think it still holds up pretty well now. What do you say, Bearclaw?
I'm right there with you, Dan. I think it's a Survivor. I don't necessarily think it's necessary horror watching. I think maybe necessary movie watching. But as far as horror goes, I think it's terrifying. There are terrifying moments to it, but I don't know that it's required reading. I think it's good. I would recommend it, but that's what puts it at a Survivor for me, is that it's good. I would recommend it, but do you have to watch it to gain a new understanding of horror? No, I don't think so. That'd be kind of where it sits with me. I think at a Survivor for all the reasons that Dan had as well. And, the writing and the dialogue and stuff that kind of took me out of it at times. So yeah, and I think there was room to be a lot more clever, but I think the philosophy was the main point of this movie, not delivering a super high quality movie, and that's where I think it goes into a Survivor. Logan, what are your thoughts?
I give this a killer. This movie is freaking awesome. I love it very much. I will definitely be rewatching this because I love it a lot. The acting is perfect. The plot is a little somewhat clustery, but then again, the action just backs it up and packs a punch. It's so cool. Kicks ass. God, Roddy Piper already is just the second he shows up on the screen, I was just like, yeah, this movie's already awesome. I don't even need to watch the rest of it. But I really like this movie. Going off of my claim of John Carpenter doesn't make good movies, that was a lie. Because this movie is so good. I mean, it definitely deserves the rating it gets. It definitely gets a lot. It should have gotten a lot more money because it deserves it. It's so good.
Well, Nathan, our producer, also gave his rating, and he said, "The plot ends up wandering around a little too much for my liking, but the premise, the one-liners, and that fight scene make this a killer." Now, before we're all out of bubblegum, we also asked you, our audience, what your thoughts were on They Live. So let's check our Instagram, and that's at mouths.of.madness. Jenny _M_angel, awesome as hell. Josh74_horror dude. Great movie that includes social commentary that still resonates today. John Ryan Howard. Masterpiece and more relevant every year. 321 Ghost Pod. Love it. Something.kinda.wickedly.me. Don't think I've seen it. Oh, well, this might be one you might want to check out. Misfit Music Momster. Love this movie. Came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, but all out of bubblegum. Yes. Alusika. Love it. 321 Ghost Pod. Love this movie. I would consider it campy sci-fi horror. It's a good time. Misfit Music Momster. Another comment. I love this movie. Yes. Twisted Soulmates Pod. 100% a horror movie. James Shannon Morant. Definitely top 5 John Carpenter movie and one of the best knockdown drag out fight scenes ever. Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe this fight. K_Scanlon653. Another great Carpenter film. And finally, from friend of the podcast, Modern Monstrous. This is an absolute mindfuck and I love it. No notes other than on that weird fight scene between Keith David and Roddy Piper. Also would have preferred Kurt Russell because he's prettier. Oh, man. Well, we really want to thank you all so much for your comments. It's awesome to see this movie get so much love. Before we end the episode, we want to embrace the madness.
Oh, yeah.
And let you all know what we've been up to. Finishing up on John Carpenter January, I've actually been diving into John Carpenter's music.
Oh. Yep.
Logan will tell you.
Oh my God.
I put on the Spotify and just go to John Carpenter and then hit the shuffle and let it play. It's got all his soundtrack stuff.
Have you heard any of his collabs with like Gunship?
I haven't, no.
Yeah.
I gotta check those out.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ones.
Ooh.
He does synth with a band called Gunship, who's pretty good.
I'm going to have to check this out. I really have enjoyed specifically his Lost Themes albums. There's this great song, Nathan, I'm wondering if you could put in a little bit of a clip of He Walks by Night, my favorite. It's so good. It's so atmospheric.
I'm going to have to write that down.
I recommend, like, if you're working, I know some of us work from home and kind of are on the computer, put this stuff on, just let it go. It really gets you in a good atmosphere. I also watched Strange Darling for the first time.
I saw that recently too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was one of my favorite movies. I mean, I know it's kind of classified as horror, but it's not really.
It's more of a thriller, I would say.
Yeah.
Counts.
I loved it. I love like
the spin.
The spin. There's a great spin. It jumps around chapters.
It has that Quentin Tarantino style storyteller. Yeah,
But
start in the middle and bounce around.
What's awesome though is they tell such an amazing story in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like they get it done. And there is a scene in this movie that I actually audibly gasped out loud. Whoa. No spoilers, but I definitely recommend checking it out.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
It's a very cool movie.
That's it for me. Dan, how about you?
Other than Strange Darling, I've been really following the NFL playoffs, of course. Been watching a lot of good football this week. I am at heart a New York Jets fan, but obviously I got no dog in this fight, so I am all on board with the Washington Commanders.
Yes,
I hope they
join the commies.
I hope they take it to the house.
I like it. The underdogs.
Yep. Music-wise, I was talking to you about this earlier, Kevin. I recently rediscovered At the Drive-In. Love that band so much. They had such an influence on early 2000s music that when they broke up, like, they just left this vacuum. And, like, everybody in the music industry kind of, like, latched onto that style of music. And it ended up producing a lot of the music that I listened to, like that emo, pop, punk.
Yeah, that's him. Style
hardcore, indie style music. They're such a heavy influence for such a small band.
Can you recommend the audience a song you think like to start with if they've never heard of?
I would say start with just One Arm Scissor is their single, but their album Relationship of Command is what that song is on, and I love that album from start to finish.
I think that would be cool because there are some listeners that maybe have never heard of them.
Yeah,
So.
well, yeah, they're very, very. I wouldn't think they're very, very popular.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of out of tune with what people listen to, so I'm not the best.
Yeah, and this is a band that existed like 20 years ago. So currently now as the Mars Volta, and I don't know if Sparta's still kicking, but the Mars Volta is still kicking.
Cool. Is that it for you?
Yeah.
Bearclaw.
Unfortunately, before we're recording this, the director David Lynch has shed this mortal coil, and I've been reviewing a lot of his work, and some of the creepiest stuff from his work is excellent. I mean, I think he's best described, and I kind of had a little bit of debate on the gram with some folks, and somebody hit the nail on the head with calling him not so much a horror director, more of like a dark surrealist, which I think would be good. I think you could debate. I don't see him necessarily as a horror director, but he definitely brings some cool stuff to the table as far as cinema direction goes, and just a huge fan of David Lynch. So rest in peace to him. I watched Wild at Heart, which is one of his movies, which has our friend of the pod, Nicolas Cage. Is involved in that. I would highly recommend that movie. I've also been playing RoboCop Rogue City, which is an interesting game, which plays just like a RoboCop movie, which is a lot of fun, and it's got a lot of callbacks to the movie RoboCop movie universe, and it's got a little bit of existential horror in there. But I've been playing a lot of that. That's been really exciting video game. But other than that, that's kind of what I've been consuming. Logan, what have you been watching?
Getting into a new anime somebody recommended to me was Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a horror / anime. It's really good. It's got a lot of good horror elements to it. Like if you want something,
some of that anime is pretty horror dense.
I would 100% recommend this to anybody who wants to. Like, if you're not an anime fan, that's fine. You don't have to be an anime fan. Watch at least the first 2 episodes because you're not going to finish with just 1 episode. Once you watch the first episode, you're going to get right into episode 2. I guarantee you. But like, watch that first couple episodes. It is super good. It's really well drawn. It's perfect. It's bold. Like the animation is very bold, so it's like easy to see. It's just perfect. It's great. Also, I've been playing some Final Fantasy. Finally got into Final Fantasy. Oh,
which one?
The new one. 16? Yeah. I gotta say,
I haven't touched it.
Everyone said it's in between. Like it's really bad or it's really good.
It's mid?
No one has said it's mid. No one has said it's mid.
It's pretty polarizing in the game community.
It's like it's either
I haven't touched it, so I got nothing.
It's either over here or over there. I gotta say, I'm having a ton of fun with it.
This is your first Final Fantasy?
First Final Fantasy. Wow. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to head into the other games to get myself.
Listen, if you're having fun with it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I've put in a good 8 hours. 8 hours in only the first 2 days of playing it. It's just great. I've also been reading some Hellboy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got into
Mike
some
Magnolia. Nice.
Yeah, the first edition. It's like a big book.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
What's it? It's Seeds of Destruction.
Yeah.
Yes. Classic.
It's so good. I love it. Definitely, because I always heard of Hellboy, the movies, obviously. So I was just like, I got to get into this because it reminds me a lot of like my favorite comic book, The Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has like the same things. I like those kind of
very Lovecraftian, very different than the movie too.
Yeah,
in some good different ways. I think they both hold their own. The original movie, the second one was only okay. Yeah, the Ron Perlman, and then I don't really anyone's after that. I'm not really.
Yeah, it's super good. I definitely recommend that book because it's perfect. I love comic books, any kind of comic book, so that's like perfect for me. It's
the frog story is crazy, and the Seeds of Destruction.
I've just gotten into it, so
okay.
I'm putting my hours into Final Fantasy, so I gotta kind of find time around.
Well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Mouths of Madness on your favorite audio platform and YouTube. If you've enjoyed your descent into madness, we really would appreciate it if you would rate us 5 stars and leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram at mouths.of.madness. We have our great YouTube channel, and that's at Mouths of Madness. And finally, we have our email address at thepaddedroom@outlook.com. Write Bearclaw an email and let him know what you're consuming.
Yeah. Let me know about those good what you're listening to. Let me know if there's any movies that we're sleeping on that we need to be watching. We need you to help guide us.
For sure. Well, that does it for our review on John Carpenter's They Live. Public service announcement. If you received sunglasses in the mail, do not put them on. Obey the mouths of madness and consume our next episode, which is Dan's pick. We'll be reviewing Street Trash from 2024. But until then, stay asleep. Bearclaw, come on. You got to put these on.
I'm not putting them on. I'm not putting your Porta-John glasses on. Too many accessories. Not happening.
Listen, I'm all out of bubblegum.
Did someone open a window? I feel a breeze in here.
Drink it, Bearclaw. Just put them on.
Oh my God, he's hitting him with a chair.
Look at these meat popsicles fighting each other.
Nice sucker punch. Do they make that in men's?
Does the one called Kevin really think it's going to make a difference if the one called Bearclaw sees our true form, Logan?
Bearclaw, get these sunglasses on.
Oh my God, he's kicking his ass.
Many accessories. Oh, okay, fine. I'll put them on.
God damn.
Oh, wow. Oh, Dan and Logan, you guys look different.
You ain't the first son of a bitch to wake up out of their dream.